the age-old question, are you a cat person or a dog person? I am most definitely a dog person. I had one cat a few years ago, wasn't for me. I've had many dogs in my life. Actually, I'm here at the park taking my new dog out for a walk. And there's my buddy. His name is Stiffy. He doesn't talk much. The first two dogs we got as a family when I was still in my single-digit years, they were mutts. I mean, I don't think we ever figured out what breed they were. They were siblings. One was called Taffy because she had very tan, taffy-colored fur, and her sibling was named Coco because she had cocoa-colored fur. At a certain point, it became clear we only needed one dog, so my dad gave away Taffy to a friend, and in doing so gave away the smarter of the two dogs. Coco was no Rhodes Scholar. Proof of that was kind of easy. The two used to play chase all the time. Taffy would duck under a table just far enough to clear it and was able to escape the other end quite easily. Coco apparently didn't have a good concept of spatial relations, and she skinned the top of her head against the table all the time, to the point where she had 2 scrape marks on top of her head, so bad to the point where fur never grew back. There was a kid who stayed at the house behind us, babysitting, I believe. I had fun telling him that, yes, Coco is a miniature reindeer, and the antlers just haven't grown in yet. Oh boy, did he believe me. You gonna go down that slide or not? The next dog we got, I was probably in my mid-teens at the time. We got a beagle as a playmate for my youngest brother. And as we found out the hard way, that dog had a different version of playing than we were used to. This dog was a little unhappy, let's just say that. We gave the dog the name Patches because one day a friend of mine came over and the dog left a patch in my friend's arm. That's quite literally where we got the name from. Now, my dad decided that this dog was a little bit too rambunctious for a young child, which my youngest brother still pretty much was. So we gave him to someone else, and we figured we were done with dogs for the foreseeable future. And we found out that foreseeable future means a year. Myself and my 2 next oldest brothers were in drum corps at one point. I was working one night, came home, found out that there was this little dog, maybe 6 months old, kind of small, mutt, we couldn't quite tell what it was, running around the house. Story goes that this dog was hanging outside the building where drum corps practice is usually held on Tuesday nights. And my brothers decided to bring it home. My mom found out that if we advertised that the dog was lost, but if nobody claims it after a month, we can keep the dog. So my mom went to, back in the day, this is the 70s, they used to have little 3x5 card bulletin board, in grocery stores, and she put, say, hey, we found a dog, brown, small, very young, not sure what breed it was, call this number if it's yours. So naturally, I went behind my mom, changed the phone number on the card so nobody could claim it. After a month, it was ours. That dog stuck around for 17 years. That's pretty damn good. We ended up having a debate about the name. My mom wanted to call it Lady. I thought a good name would be to name it after the Wacky Racers character, Muttley. I thought that was perfect. My mom won the vote, unfortunately. Parents are like that. Just ask my kids. Actually, I moved out of the house a few years later. And after a 2-month absence, I came back. That dog remembered me. You know it's your turn, right? A number of years later, got married, had kids, bought my first townhouse. We decided, let's try a dog. So we adopted a rescue dog. Thought it was a good idea. Can't quite remember the breed. He's about 70 pounds. Chester, he's a few years old. He seemed, for all intents and purposes, a good dog. But I do remember, I forget, it was one of my kids' birthdays, and their mother made him a really nice cake. Left it on the counter, went to work. We were going to have it for dinner. Everyone was looking forward to it. Then I got home from work that afternoon, early evening, and, you know, in the usual townhouse situation, you have everybody gathers at the mailbox. And one of my neighbors, whose kitchen window faced mine, said he saw a dog on the counter. Uh-oh, I know what that meant. I got in. Chester licked that plate clean, ate the whole cake. Of course, later that night and a good portion of the next day, I was in the field with Chester as he paid for his sins. Fast forward a few years, we had 4 kids. We got ourselves a house with a yard. We decided it was time to try the dog thing again. We definitely insisted on getting a rescue dog. That was rather important to us. So we picked out a 80, 90 pound Labrador Retriever, maybe a year old when we got her. She seemed like a great dog, warmed up to the kids pretty well. So I named her Athena, Greek goddess of love. What a perfect name. Not really, but it worked okay. She did have a bit of a temper on her sometimes. And I was talking to the vet about this. The vet suggested that, you know, it seemed Athena had a little bit larger chest than normal for a Labrador, and thought maybe she's not full-blooded Labrador. I mean, that made sense. The SPCA told us that they found her and her male sibling wandering the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia at a very young age. Oh, and as it turned out, I love this story. Athena's brother got adopted an hour before we got there. So that worked out really good for that family. So the fact that she's half-breed didn't surprise me one bit. The doctor suggested Rottweiler because of the large chest. I said, okay, that kind of makes sense. But I wasn't 100% convinced. So I ended up going home and pulled out some old photos that I took of Athena when we first got her, when she was still relatively young. And I noticed, and I don't know why I didn't see this at first, her head was quite narrow for a Labrador, even a young Labrador. And I said, I've seen that look before. I've seen that head shape before. And then it occurred to me, Doberman. That explains quite a bit of her attitude. And we're pretty sure that's right. We never found out, of course. But Athena was a good dog for the most part. And we decided at one point to get her a playmate. Yeah, I can't wait to see you try going up that. Athena's playmate was an 85-pound, half German Shepherd, half American Coonhound. And it was not the dog I thought I was going to get. I was at home. My wife took the kids to another dog showing at the local pet shop. She did say, hey, if I can find a Siberian Husky for you, do you want me to call you? I said, yeah, sure. So I stayed home and did my stuff. Hour later, got a phone call. There's a Siberian here. So I hopped in the truck and headed out. That dog was way too young, way too goofy, and just way too, not conscious. But in the cage next to him, I saw this half hound, half shepherd, and I said, this is a beautiful dog. It's male, and he loved to torment his fellow canines. He was pestering them, laughing at them. If dogs can laugh, trust me, he was. He was just having a great time. So I ended up naming him after the Norse god of mischief, Loki. Yes, this was years before the Thor movies came out. See, helps to know your mythology. I was well ahead of the curve on that name. Oh boy, did that dog torment Athena. It was actually funny to watch. And there was one stretch we lived in a house in the woods for about 2.5 years. And Loki had no problem waking me up at 3 in the morning to let me know that a deer was walking across our yard. And it's like, you idiot, we live in the woods. Of course there's going to be deer in the yard. Now, anybody who has anything remotely resembling a hound, they don't bark, they bay. Oh, it was horrible. But the combination of his shepherdness and his coonhoundness made him an incredible hunter. He had several rodent kills to his credit. I watched him hunt down a squirrel and kill it, and was pissed at me because I wouldn't let him bring it home. Fast forward to present day. We live in a place where it really doesn't accommodate dogs as much as we'd like it to. One of these days I will get one. I'm currently thinking about a Rottweiler, but I'm open to whatever's available, whatever dog I get along with. But in the interim, I got Stiffy. Hey boy, ready to go home? Home? Seriously, dude, you need a personality.